What is up, everybody? My name is Nick and I am a super nice guy. Today I want to talk about a UX concept known as user onboarding. If we look at Nielsen and Norman Group for all they have done, bless them in their souls, and how they define onboarding, in this example mobile app onboarding, they say it is the process of getting users familiar with a new interface, and it can take the form of feature promotion, customization, and instructions. Typically, when we see people using our product or service, we want as little friction as possible. But when we implement a new feature or there are new users in for the first time, they are not going to understand some things just by jumping in and creating an account. And so that's where onboarding comes in. We can really reduce that friction and educate the users in a few different ways, whether it's on demand or when they enter an area for the first time, we explain what the screen is for or what the features are. Or if they're vetting out downloading an app, we can explain some features up front in the login screens. There have been plenty of articles written about things like users being really frustrated when an app is redesigned. Typically, people don't like change. And there are curves that represent this where when a change takes place, instantly users are frustrated and they hit this low point. But then eventually, if the improvements are good, the curve continues up and improves to a higher usability than before the change. And so onboarding techniques can also be used during redesigns to say, hey, here's a new feature. Hey, we see you're on this screen for the first time. Here are some things you can do, and etc. So today I'm going to just walk through a collection of onboarding screens that I have pulled and sourced from random locations, from web apps to mobile apps and varying companies of different sizes. All right, well, enough of this introduction. Let's jump in and look at some stuff. Alrighty then. Here we are inside of Figma, the lovely application that everyone's using and always talking about. So I have a few examples here, and I list the benefit on the left here and the screens on the right. So this first one I have just some screens from an app called SideChef, and really the benefit of this is to walk through what the app's main features are up front before you log in or create an account. Now you'll notice these are pretty nice. They have illustrations and just a little bit of text and a few swipes that you can move through. There's another example here of Netflix doing the same exact thing, and they say you can watch on any device, which is one of their features, and then they have a few others here. One thing to note here is that these have the ability to skip or the content is not required. Once again, if we jump back to the lovely Nielsen Norman Group and see what they have to say, they specifically state that skip it when possible. Onboarding that requires content to be digested actually reduces usability because of the attention and effort it requires. So it is important to note here, these screens aren't required. It is just offering additional content if you are curious and want to read and look at these pretty illustrations. Next, I have an example from Affirm, which is an application that does various fintech related things. You can shop and browse and create payment plans and so on. And so because of that, it does require a little bit more of an in-depth account setup. It's a little bit more serious. Security is really important here. You do have to enter in things like your social security number if you're setting up like a savings account and so on. But you'll see at the beginning they have the same approach as the examples we just looked at, although I don't necessarily see these adding value as feature level explanations. It does say you can shop and save, but it doesn't offer a ton. I think these have some really nice animations, and that's why I saved these first two. What the benefit here is to quickly guide the user through setup upon account creation. This is really an optimal experience that if you require a bunch of information from the user to really get the most out of the application, we can just expedite this process up front in this sort of wizard experience where you move one through the other, and once you're finished, you're ready to get inside the app. For these, I just like to document and see how other products are doing this because we have a few different types of screens. One is a standard form where we're entering in, user information about the account. But when we hit next, there's interesting screens where you only need to enter your phone number. And so they've explained specific information about why you need a phone number or terms and service and things like that. But they've then elevated the one input and not actually styled it like an input. The text is a little bit bigger and you're focused on on just that one element. And then there's another one similar where you enter in a passcode and the screen's essentially blank and they've just elevated the passcode there. I think there are some benefits to this. For example, if all of these phone number and password lived on this first screen here, there's already a ton of information going on. So having this exposed on a second standalone screen actually increases clarity and reduces that level of effort that's required to understand all the content you're entering in. So we're really spoon feeding these bite-sized pieces here. You only have to focus on this thing, and then you have to focus on just this thing. And then I've also documented a success or confirmation screen. So in this instance, it was after I linked another bank account, I believe. It's just really nice to show, hey, this thing has been achieved. You did it. Continue. Great. All right. And here we have just another of the same, kind of what we were looking at a second ago with Affirm, but this time it's public, and this is just an application. I believe they advertise or market it as a more social oriented trading platform for crypto and stocks and things like that. But again, same thing. We need to collect a lot of information up front, especially with financial accounts. They need to be verified to lock in who you are and understand your identity and things like that. Here is just another different approach. Again, there's a dark theme, but we're doing essentially the same thing. We're collecting information up front. There are single inputs. What is your name? And you type that here. You can choose a username. You can add profile photos right up front. Then there are sort of survey questions too, which are interesting, and you select one, which one applies to you, how many dependents do you have for, I'm assuming, tax purposes and things like that. And then we have, what is your marital status? It is interesting looking at between these two here. They're essentially the same format of question, but displayed in a different way. So I'm curious why, you select a more of a chip here, and then here you have a radio selection, but they're essentially both. You can only pick one and move forward. Anyway, I think these are really nicely done. And then two really nice things that happen sort of on the back end of this process is if you want to enable crypto, it presents a screen that says you can do that now or you don't have to, but here's the reason why you might have to add this in, and you do it with the click of a button. And then also once you hit agree or you confirm your account, there's a submitting your application. So it has to go through this approval process, and you can see it working in real time, which is great. Going back to Nielsen Norman's heuristic principles, always having visibility of system status is one of those, and that's what's occurring here, which is great. The user understands something is occurring, and it's really valuable to see. Okay, and this is one I was really fond of, which is Ledger. It's an application tied to a cold wallet storage for crypto. This approach here just makes the process way less stressful, at least it did for me. So for one, on the left, they're showing specific steps that you'll need to take for this setup process. But on the right, they say, we're going to get you started. Plan for 30 minutes. Take your time. You'll need a pen to write with, and stay alone. Choose a safe and quiet environment. So they're showing a number of things here. Here are the steps it's going to take, and here's the actual time that we're saying this process should take you. And in fact, I think I did it in 15 or 20 minutes, so they were saying 30 to be a little bit more generous. But right up front, you understand what you're getting into, and you say, okay, I'm ready, and you get into it. All right, earlier in the video, I mentioned on-demand feature explanation, and so this is a great example here. Although this is kind of a combination of entering a screen for the first time and on-demand, but this example here with Asana, when you've entered My Tasks and they know you haven't completed or created any tasks for the first time, they're actually filling this area with a card that explains what tasks are, and also a link to a video. So if you want that on-demand service, you can choose to open up your own content and learn more about it in this example, 30 seconds. This is a really powerful example because if tasks are one of the main features in Asana and we want all of our users to be very proficient at the tasks feature, then right off the bat, we're going to give them as many resources as possible that they can opt into if they so please. And here's another example of on demand from Brave Browser. there was some sort of question that said, hey, when will this thing take place? It might have been, when do you receive rewards, or more details around this rewards process. And so when I clicked it, I got this step-by-step experience again that I can skip, go back, continue, read more information about the feature in this delightful and simple way. All right, and now I'm moving into the next sort of area on launch feature explanation. So when we launch a new feature, we want users to know about it and again, start getting feedback, start getting them to use it, and we want to make it as seamless as possible. Miro has these really nice little widgets almost, or tooltips that appear in the bottom right, and in this example, it explains what it is. It says, hey, we've just got an update. You can take this refresh tutorial or you can visit the help center. But they also have these animating, I believe, and so they're a really delightful experience. You can see in real time, if you're really visual, what's happening. But if you want a deep dive course, you can click watch tutorial or you can skip it out entirely. This one should be fairly familiar to all the Figma users out there, but whenever they launch new, large, substantial releases or features, they will hit you with this modal right up front when you open the app. And so you can move through this experience, learn about their new features, and then you can also go to their features URL and read more about them in case you think you've missed something. And in the most recent Figma updates, you'll also see they will link to their playground section specifically, so providing more resources to the user. Again, hey, this makes sense, I can read about it, I understand it, but I want to actually learn more about it, and we provide the link to do that. And again, here we're just seeing the same technique, but in this instance, a mobile app. So in Twitch, when the Discover tab was implemented, for the first time users, when they entered that screen, we would say, hey, this is what Discover is for. Your new home for recommended streams based on what you want to watch on Twitch. Really straightforward, takes 2 seconds, you hit continue, and you're on your way. Next, I have a couple examples from FigJam. So when the timer feature was implemented on the right here, they said, hey, here's a timer, here's what you can do. You can start this feature now, or you can learn more and read about it. Interestingly enough, it's designed differently than this other tooltip example, which I believe this one was first time users, this one was a new feature launch. But here it says what you can do with share. When you hit next, it brings you to other experiences around FigJam, and it connects them here, so it's really clear. Shares up top over here, this is what we're talking about. Now we're moving to a different point and it connects there. And again, look at both of these have an X to skip out entirely. Here's just a quick one I wanted to touch on from YouTube Studio. When they released a dark theme, which I guess wasn't available previously, I'm not aware of that, but they just throw a little tooltip here in the upper right that says, hey, now we have a dark theme. Here's where to find it. I think it would be more helpful if they had a link that says, try out dark theme now, and then you click it and it activates it, or it takes you to the settings location, but it does tell you where it's at and you can close out this tooltip. All right, and now we're going to talk about entering a new area for the first time. So it could be a user that's been in here for a bit and they haven't made it into this new screen, or it could be a new user entirely. So I stumbled upon this inside usertesting.com, which is this awesome service that you can recruit testing participants for products and things like that, and it's amazing. But when I entered in this screen upon creating an account, it was really great. It said analyzing your results and sharing insights. From here, here's what you can do. 3 bullet points. Show key takeaways by sharing clips and data. You can X this out, you can hit got it. You can learn more at their university course. Again, so if we're thinking about what we really want these main users to be accomplishing, what are their user goals in this screen, we can really elevate and expedite that process for them to get to that point by explaining those in really clear text. Here are the things you can do. Here's how this was designed. We've designed this to account for these certain features. This one's sort of similar, but a different approach. It's more visual. I do tend to think more visual is more delightful and therefore easier to digest and less of a cognitive overload. Here's an example from Intercom, and it's a similar thing where we have entered a core experience, what the users are really trying to accomplish here, but we're not leaving them hanging. We're, in this instance, giving them 6 quick tips to look and read through. Number 4 here is build an engaging tour without any code. Here you'll design your tour and choose how customers see it. It's easy to build and so on and so forth. And you can hit next, and lo and behold, you can skip out entirely. I think it's interesting that we have this red box here. I think maybe this screenshot was taken from an animation and the first frame started off as red. I could be wrong there, but either way, an illustration or an animation is very powerful and definitely helps here. Here's a similar approach, but for YouTube Studio, and it's really pulled back. Instead of having 6 points in this previous example, we're just showing one nice little modal that says, welcome to YouTube Studio. It has this, this, and this. Continue. Done. Super simple. Here's another example from Google Forms. I'm not aware of why this one appeared. Maybe they did a survey or they were doing user testing and users were afraid that data wasn't being saved. At any rate, when I was in here, it says, auto-save your work. Google Forms automatically saves progress for 30 days when you're signed in. And I just hit OK and continued on. I do think this title is maybe not working. It says auto save your work, like it's telling me to, rather than it says in the next sentence, Google Forms automatically saves your progress. So I'm getting a little bit of mixed signals there, but I think this is valuable. All right, and now we're moving on to the last benefit here I have in these examples, and that is promote help content to new users. So users that are entirely new. So when a new user opens up or logs in or finishes creating their account for the first time, we can say, hey, guess what? We've created a ton of helpful content that can help you learn this really fast. On the right here, we state you can watch videos. You can watch this 4-course series that can help you jumpstart your experience. You can have it remind you later. You can sign up, or you can just X out of it. On the left here, we're saying, hey, welcome to user testing in this example. Here's what you can do. Watch videos that you've recorded in your user sessions. Create notes and clips. Share with your team. So this one was similar to the other one we looked at that was text, but this one's a little bit more visual, which I think makes it a little bit easier to digest. And you can hit get started, which is just a really simple action-oriented word here. Great, got it. I learned what I can do really quick. Now I can go do these things. And you can X out of it, even though skipping and getting started are the same here. All right, and that was a quick look into the UX technique known as user onboarding. I definitely encourage everyone to look out for this stuff in the products and services that they're using, grabbing things, sourcing them, bringing them in, and really auditing what it is they're seeing and why it's beneficial. Be sure to check out the description below for those resources with Nielsen Norman Group. I always think those are fantastic articles to read and brush up on because they are really brilliant and everyone looks to them for being experts in the field. And also be sure to give me that thumbs up, like and subscribe, and support the channel because it would really help me out. Anyway, I suppose that is it for today. So until next time, super nice guy out.